So, the average American is living a lifestyle that's 3 times greater than the Earth's capacity to support them. And this is also true for many other people in industrialized nations and the world that's not yet industrialized. Countries that are part of that part of the world is catching up fast. Needless to say, the environmental impact of human activity is stressing the Earth. But how do we know this? Well, there are many red flags that we see in the environment that tell us, and we're going to look at a list of 8 of them. The first one is forests. The Earth's forests play a crucial role in absorbing carbon emissions, and the planet's largest forest, the Amazon rainforest, has been referred to as the lungs of the planet. However, the Earth has lost a third of its forests since humans began to develop agriculture 12,000 years ago, and that amounts to an area 2 times greater than the landmass of the United States. Forests are being cleared for human settlement and for agriculture. And this time lapse shows the deforestation of the African island of Madagascar as seen through satellite imagery between 1984 and 2016. And this figure here shows rates of deforestation since the year 1950 in some of the world's most important forested areas, the Amazon, the Congo Basin in Central Africa, and Southeast Asia, shown in green for the Amazon, blue for the Congo Basin, and Southeast Asia in orange. And as you can see, there may be some improvements occurring in deforestation in the Amazon, represented with the green bar, but the rate of deforestation in the Congo and Southeast Asia has continued to rise. The next indicator of stress can be seen in the Earth's soil. So, healthy soil is full of nutrients, it's rich, it has beneficial microscopic organisms living in it. And I bet you can tell just by looking at this picture here which soil is healthy and which one isn't. Poor practices in agricultural management have been depleting the quality of the Earth's soil, which in turn reduces its productivity for raising crops. And it's estimated that the soil quality in 1/5 of the world's arable land has already been severely degraded. The third stress indicator is fresh water. So, living in Arizona, we are probably aware of this one. Strain on freshwater resources is becoming more serious in many areas around the world as snowpacks and snow melts decrease, reservoirs dry up, and drought conditions continue or worsen. Arizona's access to fresh water, especially from the Colorado River, is among those resources that are highly threatened. And this time lapse shows an aerial view of Lake Powell up on the Arizona-Utah border between the years 1991 and 2015. And Lake Powell is fed by the Colorado River, and this is a testament to how strained this freshwater resource really is in the Southwest. Next is the state of marine fisheries, meaning ocean habitats from which fish are sourced for human consumption. About 35% of the ocean's fisheries are being overfished, meaning that fishermen are taking too many fish out of the ecosystem so that the population can't fully recover year over year and replenish itself for future seasons, so the fish yield and population is declining. Another 25% are being fished at their maximum yield and pushing that boundary with overfishing. And then aquaculture, in other words, fish farms, are on the rise as one solution to increase fish yields and take the pressure off of marine fisheries. But fish farms are notoriously polluting and also responsible for significant habitat destruction. Biodiversity is another indicator of stress. So, biodiversity describes the range of species present in ecosystems, and that range of species is decreasing due to human driven habitat destruction. Many species have already gone extinct, and 42,000 species are considered threatened, including 41% of amphibians, 27% of mammals, 34% of cone bearing trees such as pines, 36% of coral, and much more. In this figure right here, you can see an estimate of rates of extinction of different groups of organisms between the year 1500 and 2014. We can also see stress and conditions in the atmosphere, which reflects in the planet's climate. Emissions of carbon dioxide from human activity continue to increase worldwide. Since 1970, emissions from the US alone have almost doubled, increasing by 90%. While some efforts are being made to reduce emissions in certain parts of the world, the overall emissions remain very high, and the numbers continue to rise in many countries that are developing towards industrialization. Waste is the next indicator. When we say waste, we mean the normal sort of waste that's generated by humans from their daily activities, the trash that you throw away, as well as waste from industrial processes. We will distinguish this normal sort of waste from hazardous waste in just a moment. In terms of general waste, levels are increasing, especially in the industrialized countries like the United States, where waste generation has tripled in the past 20 years. The amount of things that we throw away is going up. So Americans throw away 34 billion pounds of clothes every year, which breaks down to 81 pounds per person. Another example is food waste. In the US, 30 to 40% of food ends up being thrown away, whether that's the leftovers you didn't want to eat, or food that gets thrown away by restaurants, or even crops that are left unharvested in the fields because the market wasn't buying them at a price that was agreeable to the farmer. Developing pre industrialized countries are likely to follow suit as they build up their wealth and become more significant consumers of products as well. Lastly, we have the presence of hazardous waste and toxic chemicals in the environment and in the bodies of living things. This is the final stress indicator we'll talk about. So, when we say hazardous wastes and toxic chemicals, we mean byproducts of industries that are harmful to living things. So, for example, heavy metal drainage from mining, which contaminates soil and water tables, and then by extension, ecosystems and crops. A while back, there was an issue that got a lot of attention in the news. It was the presence of high levels of lead, which is a heavy metal, in basically all dark chocolate products on the market. So, lead is an example of one of those contaminants, which is harmful to human health, especially for children. There are also many known toxins that continue to be used in household products. Many of these compounds don't break down easily and they persist for many years. For example, there's a report by the CDC in 2015 that showed that 97% of all Americans were found to have PFAs in their bloodstream, which are a group of chemicals used to make things like nonstick pans, stain resistant fabric, and even cosmetic products. Exposure to PFAs has been linked to harmful health impacts in humans and animals. Another example is red number 3 dye, which is a petroleum based chemical that's used to impart a vibrant red color in manufactured products. And red number 3 dye is outright banned in the European Union, and the FDA banned its use in cosmetics and topical medications in the US in the 1990s because it was shown to cause cancer. However, what's mind boggling is that it's still legal to use it as a colorant in food and drinks in the US, including in products like Skittles, cake mixes, protein shakes. These are just a couple of examples of cases where we know about the harm that these toxic chemicals cause. And there are many more chemicals that are being used and released into the environment where we don't know their impact because it hasn't yet been studied.